Okay, this is Unit 19, and this is the inflection of a defective verb. What's defective about it is that it only has perfective aspect forms. There's no imperfective or aorist aspects of this verb. It's the verb oīδα, which means no. Okay, it's related. The form is of the root is actually the same originally as the verbal root see, and it goes back to Indo-European. There was one root that meant both no and see, and they became lexically different in Greek. So there's no overlap between forms that mean one and forms that mean the other. They're lexically distinct. Originally this word began with a W, so it was oīδα. So the Latin cognate of it is video, and the English cognate of it is wit and wisdom. So you can say video in Latin means something I see, whereas wit and wisdom is knowledge. You can see you have this split in the cognates between things about knowledge and things about sight. Anyhow, without going off the deep end philosophically about relationships between saying and knowing, we want to look at these forms. This is a very common verb, the most common verb to know in Greek, and it's weird because it's so old in its behavior. So let's look at the present. It's formally a perfect, okay? And that's why the endings are so weird. The first person singular of the present perfect, it really is that, is oīδα, means I know. It doesn't have a perfective meaning anymore, it just means no. So that's oīδα. That alpha is only, that's one of the things that gives it away as a perfective form, right? It displays this second person singular active ending, st, that we've seen before. Where else did we see it? We saw it in
Amy, or Amy,
and Fame, exactly. Those are the other places. In the imperfect of Amy, you have ēsta, and then another forms of. Whoops. Sorry for that. About that. In other forms of what I was saying about ēsta, the sta ending. Anyhow, it's an active ending. That's the thing that's weird. It looks like sta, and so people associate it with middle and second person plural. It's active and second person singular. And then third person singular is oiden, or oīδα, with a new movable. Okay, so oīδα, oīsta, oīδα, it's the root there is oid, or originally void. In the plural, we've got ismen, ista, isase, okay? The root here looks like is, but it's actually originally id, okay? And the phonology changes from idmen to ista, ismen, in this dialect especially. So you're going to see that's the form of the root without the O or E, okay? You've got O in the singular and no vowel in the plural of the present perfect. If you look at the infinitive and the participle, the root is aid, E-I-D, originally wade. Okay, so there's your E grade, aid, oid, and id. So the infinitive is eideni, to know, and the participle, which is a very common form of this verb. The indicatives are very common, and so are the participles and the infinitives. Eidos, eiduia, eidos has the form of a perfect participle, right? Eidatos, eiduias, eidatos, those are the suffixes associated with perfect participles. It's a very common word, and it's also common as an attributive participle. So in Greek you speak of hoi eidates, those who know, or ha eidos, the person in the know.
Right.
Okay, it's a category in Greek poetry. The people who've been clued in, so who understand the coded message is basically what you're talking about. Imperative uses the id root, which has become s. So iste and isto in the singular, know, and let her or him know. Iste, you all know, and isto, let them know. We now want to look at rarer forms, but it's good to be able to recognize them of this word. There's the subjunctive and the optative, which are based on the EID, the E grade of the stem, right? So you have eido, eides, eide, eidomen, eidete, eidose, not confusable with any other Greek verb form. And then the optative eidein, eideis, eidemen, eidete, eidein. You may remember that the second aorist of the verb to see is eidon, okay? Eidon means I saw, but you're never going to see a form of that verb that looks like this. Okay, so they're that's what I mean when I said they're lexically distinct. There's no form that either belongs to both oida, the verb to know, and eidon, the verb to see. Not confusable. So the weirdest of all the forms is the pluperfect form, which is just the imperfect, if you will. I used to know, or I was knowing. And there you augment the EI form of the stem, so you get an eta with an iota subscript to get the past tense. And then it has some strange athematic endings, ede, edesta, ede with an EI. And then the delta becomes a sigma again, espen, esta, esan. That esan can't be confused with the third person plural of the imperfect of the verb to be because it has a iota subscript. Okay? So the key thing is to remember the three forms of the stem: oid, aid, and id. Okay, and then here you've got the augmented form of the aid stem with an iota and an eta and iota subscript. All right.